This is Bucket Talk, a weekly podcast for people who work in the trades and construction that aren't just trying to survive, but have the ambition and desire to thrive. The opportunity in the trades and construction is absolutely ridiculous right now. So if you're hungry, it's time to eat. We discuss what it takes to rise from the bottom to the top with people who are well on their way and roll up their sleeves every single day.
This episode of Bucket Talk, we got Nelson Cabrera. He goes by the Instagram and TikTok handle, The Crazy Salvadorian. This is a new trade for me on the podcast. We have not dove into the railroad. Nelson comes from the rail yards and the railroad, and I don't know much about it myself, so I'm really excited to get the background on what he does on a daily basis, how he got into it. Nelson, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to do this. This is the first time doing a podcast, and I'll be honest, I'm just a bit nervous, but I'll be okay after a minute or two.
Nah. This will be good. Glad it's your first podcast because it's, your story raw, right from the rail yard. So I'm excited about this. But take us as far back as high school or even prior to that. Like, where'd you come from? How'd you get to where you are? And why the railroad industry? Like, really, how'd you get into it?
Well, back when I was living in my country, my dad put me in a mechanic shop when I was 13 years old, and then I didn't want to do that because I just want to be a regular kid. But he always told me this stuff is going to help you in the future. I didn't want to see it like that once again because I was a little kid that just want to be playing. Mm-hmm. Anyways, we moved to United States in 98, started working in construction. I worked in construction for 12 years. I be honest with you, I did not like that at all because my hands always been greasy. Doing construction it's not like that. So yeah. I always thought that working for the railroad, they were gonna require a degree in anything like that. And I was kind of hesitant to get into the railroad because, like I said, I thought that you were going to have to be some sort of big guy to do that. My best friend told me one day, just go apply for that railroad and see what they say. They might say no, they might say yeah. Apply for them. Luckily, I was able to talk to the vice president of the company in East Texas. He saw that I done construction this whole time, and he saw that I know how to run forklift and such. He just didn't hesitate, and he said, just go see Sherry. She will get you the paperwork so you can go do your physical, your drug test tomorrow, and come see me. Like, it's just like that. But here comes the but. Yeah. I swept floor for 3 months. I didn't complain about it because I already was there. Yep. So my point was to get far, not to stay in the same place. Anyways, they offered me to start working on traction motor, which traction motors are the one that moves the train. Yep. Or the locomotive, which they're electrical. Tore down, rebuild them. Then from there, they swapped me to do painting on locomotive. I did that for about a year. Then from there, one of my buddies asked me if I wanted to start working for him. But that was on the diesel side, and I'm like, sure. He asked me if I know how to work on vehicles. I told him that I did, that I know how to work on vehicles, and that was on a Friday. Saturday morning, I show up to his house around 9-ish. The first thing he did, he popped a beer. He handed that to me. Long story short, we pulled one engine out of the Toyota Tacoma. About noonish, about 4 o'clock, we have the other one already in, running. And he told me that I was going to start working for him full time on the diesel side. And that's how I started working like that. That was in East Texas, and I moved to Fort Worth. And it's a different beast out here because I'm on their 10 locomotive here in Fort Worth that I maintain. And I've been doing electrical, air, mechanical, welding, so you name it, all that kind of good stuff on my engines.
That's wild. So you started at a very young age in El Salvador,
Yes.
and then you moved out here. Your dad, was he a just like an automotive mechanic by trade, or
Mm-mm.
he fixed everything?
My dad was a carpenter,
Oh, okay.
but he always told me that mechanic was going to be the biggest step
Oh,
deal in the future. And
yep, yep.
like I said, I didn't want to believe that then. Matter of
Crazy,
fact,
crazy.
I just got done working on my wife's vehicle because I did the oil change, I replaced some bushings and some other good stuff, and she's
Hmm.
like, "How do you know all this stuff?" Just I guess it just comes natural.
Yeah, it's a great foundation. I mean, once you have a basic understanding of tools and how things work and how to take things apart. Um, to this day, I don't necessarily know everything about my trade, but I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and take it apart, see how it works. 90% of the time it works out for me. 10% of the time I'm like, oh shit. Like, you pull something apart, all the ball bearings fall out, and you're like, well, now I have no idea where all these springs and bearings go. Long story short, um, it's good. It's a good trade to get into. It sounds like you were interested in trains at an early age, and that's kind of the way you wanted to go. Is that true?
Yes. Oh yes.
Cool.
Um, uh,
Why the interest in trains?
well, because I always thought that working on trains or locomotive, it was gonna be like a regular um, vehicle,
Yep.
engine, transmission, and a long ass shaft, a drive shaft.
Hmm.
I was wrong.
Not the case.
So
No.
no. So I just want to learn how to everything works
Yep.
from the engine to the transmission, which it doesn't have a transmission.
Yep.
So, and this is how the whole thing works. You have the engine, which is the ones I have here. They're 16-cylinder engine, and they have a big main generator. From the main generator, they shoot electricity to all my 6 traction motors, and that's how you start building amperage, and that's how you start moving. So that was one of my things that I'm like, I really need to know how those things works, and I've been doing it for about 16 years, and it still shocked me to see how much weight that those beasts moves around.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's actually pretty cool. And you drummed up a memory for me because little young Jeremy, my first real job or entry level job was actually in the military, and
Nice.
I was in the engine room, and I totally forgot that both main diesel engines were Alco engines, so they're American Locomotive Company engines, and that's what powered our boat. Went to, reduction gears, and then to the prop shafts. But I remember, at first I didn't know what Alco stood for, and then come to find out they're the same engines used in diesel electric trains,
Right.
and they're huge. I mean, I think ours were, they could have been 16 cylinder, but uh, my memory is correct. It's like two 18 cylinder Alco engines with these massive turbochargers on it, like massive, the size of a
Oh yeah.
freaking Volkswagen, and each individual cylinder head. It's not set up. It it's not set up like a car where you have a cylinder head for 3 cylinders or 4 cylinders. You have one cylinder head that is, I don't know,
Super
twice the
massive.
size of like two cinder blocks. Two guys screw poles into it, pick it off, and then you decoke a lot of the piston. Sorry, decoke the carbon off the piston. The pistons are massive. I mean, it's wild. It's a big operation to change anything on that. But yeah, it was funny. I got my cut my teeth there on some Alcos. So yeah, bringing back some good memories.
Yeah, those alcohols right there versus my EMD unit,
Yep.
they have a different sounds when they're on idle.
Hmm.
Um, Now GEs, they have a different sounds as well versus Alcos and EMDs.
Hmm.
EMDs, they're more mellow down when they're in idle. The
Yep.
Alcos sounds like they're so mad at the world. Now, now the GE, it sounds like they have a big camshaft in it.
Yep.
I don't know if you ever hear them when they're on idle, but they sound just like there's a massive camshaft in it.
So, schooling wise and everything like that, everything was done on the job. Obviously started off pushing brooms, then got into you know taking stuff apart and learning on the job. But at either of the companies that you're at, do they send you to factory schooling or any schooling like that to kind of up your knowledge on the platform you're working on?
They did send me to Illinois to be a certified mechanic,
Hmm.
which all the stuff that they showed me there, it was I already know.
Yeah.
There was a few things that I'm like, I don't know that, I don't know that. I need to keep it. I need to keep it with me because that's the kind of things that I'm messing up when I'm doing something on my engines.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'll stay there for about a week, and I got my certification. Uh, I got a lot of books and a lot of part books that I still have at home, which they help me out sometimes to do some troubleshoot with my engines.
Yep.
Because I'll be honest, that stuff, you and I know that we're never gonna end up learning about mechanical.
Hmm.
There's always gonna be more and more and more to it.
Totally.
So I was in Vegas last week. I was doing
Yep.
an air conditioner in one of my small engines. Uh, the ones I have here, they're SD40-2, which they're big engines. The
Hmm.
ones I have in Vegas is a small switcher. It's an SW1500. So from working on my massive engines over here, the smoking is to work on the small locomotive is a
Hmm.
big change.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to about seeing all this big stuff over here, and then I'll go over there. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be different.
So,
Um,
what is a switcher? So you obviously have your, I guess, walk me through like a basic understanding of the types of locomotives you have out there, and what their job is. Are they pulling 100 rail cars on an X platform, and another one's just for moving equipment around the yard? Like walk me through a little bit of that because I know nothing about the railroad industry.
all right. So an SD40-2 is a 16-cylinder engine
Mm-hmm.
with this one don't have main generator. This one has a um, alternator. That's what it's
Okay.
called.
Yep.
So we do business for BNSF. When a train from BNSF gets to our rail yard, they get there. Uh, then my locomotive goes there. They start breaking all the train apart, start
Mm-hmm.
moving the different containers to the different tracks. Um, so I have 3 units on one end and another 3 units on the other end. So they both start moving stuff around. Um, and we build trains for them, which an SD40-2 is a big engine, not like the one that BNSF has. BNSF has some SD80s, which that's the massive engines, but that's
SD80.
some rail powers. The ones that we have here, they're just nothing but a switchers. Um, the little switcher I'm telling you is just a small engine with the 8-cylinder diesel engine.
Yeah.
Uh, that one it has just 4 wheels. The one I have here, they have 6 wheels with 6 traction motor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the ones I have here, they're about 3,000 horsepower each, and the one I have over there, I think it's 1,100 horsepower in Vegas. I'm sorry.
That's cool. I'm looking them up right now. Um, I actually didn't know that. I mean, it makes sense. Like, obviously, you got to move containers and stuff around rail yards, and um, those. the SD80s are huge.
Yes, they
They're
are.
massive. So
I
I
think it.
guess General Motors makes these.
Yes.
That's crazy.
No, yeah, no.
135 ton. Wow.
Yeah, mine. I think about 368,000 pounds each.
Yeah. And then the little switchers just move stuff around, move cars, move equipment. Um,
So, so since I have three engines over here, I can pull about 100 cars, maybe
okay.
less.
Yep.
And when we're talking about double stack containers, full. So, and the little switcher that I have in Vegas, that one they can only pull about 7 cars because the grade that they have over there
Hmm.
is the wheels just slip too much on the rail, so they can pull more than 7 cars.
That's I still am I still am in awe about the obviously with gearing or tires and traction or you know uh, even snowmobiles and the tread they got, but like trains, it's amazing that they can gain as much traction as they have there, that they can move on two smooth metal surfaces. um it's wild that it even goes anywhere. I always thought that
Yeah,
was kind of funny.
yeah. So some of my engines used to have senders, which that's the one that shoots sense to the wheels.
Hmm.
So when the wheels start sleeping, it shoots sense constantly or just poof, poof, poof. That way it can get some traction.
No way.
Oh yeah.
That's that's crazy. So like we had those we had a different setup. I forget what it's called, but on like if you've ever been behind a fire truck
Yes.
up north, I don't know if you've ever been, but they have these units that come down when they need additional traction, and they spin chains and they come down to the tire, and then the tire can roll over the chains. Um that's wild that you have that same sort of setup. I never knew that.
So a good friend of mine that he was one of my first followers on TikTok. He posted a video. He worked on fire engines
Yep.
in West Virginia, I believe.
Yep.
And he posted a video about that, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That chain just started rotating like that, and the wheel just it's that's wild.
Yeah. No, that's
Now,
cool.
now if you think about it, when we talk about sand, we're thinking about regular sand. That sand that we used to put in our engines is like a black kind of like piece of glass. It's still
Yep.
part of sand, but it gives more a better tracking to my engines.
Yeah, so I would assume it's the same as like in the automotive industry. It's called Black Beauty. We used it for like sandblasting parts.
That's
Um
that's the same stuff. Yep.
yeah, so it's a silica compound, um black sand. So yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Railway traction sand. Um wow. That's cool. I knew nothing about it, and it's got a little hose with a little nozzle that shoots right down
hmm
to the track. And I would assume you have like a hopper that you store the sand in. Like, how big is that? Do you carry like 100
So
pounds
in
of
each
sand, or is it?
about yeah about 75 to 100. So in each end of the locomotive, there's
Hmm.
a sand tank. That's what we used to fill up those sands with sand tanks with it. So and also it gives extra weight to the unit because if you think about it, if the unit weighs more, it gives less wheel slip to
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So it will help out whenever you have more sand on the units than anything.
That's cool. That's cool. All right. So now that's getting a train going. How does the train stop? Do you like
I did
how
change
is a
that.
brake set up on that?
Well, there's two type of brakes on my units or
Hmm.
in every single locomotive. So you have the independent, which the independent is the one to stop the locomotive itself when you don't have any cars in the back. So
Hmm.
let's say you have 3 units and you use the lower handle, which has two independent, that will stop the whole consist of 3 units or 4 units. Now, when you're pulling a train, you have another one that is called automatic brake.
Yep.
So that's the one that we use at work the most. And you have a dynamic brake. So the dynamic brake, and this is going to be kind of interesting because it's based with electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you ever take one of those RC cars and take the little motor apart and you'll
Yep.
see the little motor. Okay, so when you put electricity to that motor, it just spins one way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in our situation with the dynamic brake, we put the electricity to it, but it kind of invert the polarity. So
Yeah,
instead
reverse
of
the
be,
polarity. Yep.
yep. So that's how you stop the train when they're going well, not when they're going super fast, but instead of using air brakes, they use automatic dynamic brake.
Oh, cool.
So that kind of slow the engine a little. It's kind of like an engine brake,
Mm-hmm.
like a J brake. So like I said, yeah. But those two, the automatic and the dynamic, the automatic and the independent brake, they're based with air. So all my system inside my unit, they're nothing but air.
Yeah, so it's essentially you got a reservoir that holds the air, and then piping and what have you to a brake cylinder, and then it pushes on a shoe, which then pushes on
The
the
wheel,
the wheel. Yeah,
yeah. So
cool. So it's
you have
it's like
about
a 100
go ahead,
pounds. No, no,
140
no,
pounds.
no. Okay. And that how long would it take to stop a 100 car train, say going 40 miles an hour?
About three
Is it a
miles.
long 3 miles? Wow, that's intense.
That's just because all the weight in the back. I mean, even if you throw
Yeah.
it in emergency, the wheel's just gonna lock, but they're just gonna slide into a rail.
All right.
Hey,
All right.
bef- before I
Cool.
start working on the rail,
Yeah.
I used to have a 1998 Mustang. I always said that I was gonna beat the train. Now that I work on this, I said, yeah, my kids they better not be doing that stuff because I'm gonna whoop them. Now that I know how that thing works, yes, yeah, no, thank you.
All right. Tell me. So we got a little bit of background on trains. It's pretty cool. You know, a little bit different than automotive. Some some similar principles, crossover stuff like that. Um, Education sounds pretty cool. They got a little bit of continuing education, so um, you know, in your case, you didn't know a ton, but you were driven and always hands on. So you know, you got a job and learn from there. Um, but tell me an oh shit moment, a moment that like you had something apart or didn't know how to fix it. How'd you overcome all that?
Let me
There's got to
see.
be one good story that you always tell at the barbecue.
Okay, so here's a good one.
Yeah.
An FRA inspector is a federal inspector that goes to inspect any locomotives in the whole United States.
Yeah.
So this guy he's like the big boss of any bosses in the whole railroad.
Mm-hmm.
He can come and say, well, I don't like how the unit's running because it has too many oil leaks, blah, blah, blah. I'm taking out of service until you fix it.
Mm-hmm.
He came one time and he said, hey, this handbrake, so the handbrakes on the unit, I have two that they have wheels. And the
Mm-hmm.
other one, they have handles just to ratchet them up like that and it ties them. But this one, this handbrake has a wheel and it was flapping up and down the whole time. So he said, you're going to have to fix this. He said, until you fix it, you're not going to be able to use it. I said, shit. I went inside my conics. I went to look for, it's just a little bushing that holds the pin. Excuse me. And I didn't have one. I do have one, but it was bigger. I called my boss and I said, hey, dude, the FRA came and put this unit out of service. I don't have any of those bushings. He was like, shit, well, now what are we going to do? I said, I don't know, but I'm thinking about something. So My friend called me the Mexican MacGyver. So I went and grabbed another bushing. I cut two of them at the same time.
Yeah.
I left one a little bigger and the other one smaller. That way I can fit it in. And when I got it all fit up, I welded all the way around.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, stayed pretty sturdy right there.
Wow.
And then I took a video to it and I sent it to my FRA inspector. And I sent it to my boss and I said, let's fix. He's like, how in the hell do you fix that? I said, I don't know. It just came to my head like I will never would have thought that I probably would have waited for the right bushing to get there. But if you fix it, you fix it.
Yeah.
Therefore, I reply, he's like, I'm good with that. If it is all fixed, it's all fixed. I don't have to show up there to get it done.
Sweet. Sweet. And then obviously, you probably find the right bushing at some point in time and replaced it, but like thinking on your toes and getting the job done and fixing it in a pinch. I love it. I love stories like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's like it's like I always tell my boss, if the one time I tell you that I don't know how to fix something or I don't have a solution for it, just fire me. Just fire me because I mean, there's always a solution for everything.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just a little common sense that you have to use, and if you have it, yeah, you can do whatever you want. But yeah, there's been some hiccups too.
Yeah.
um, this is a good one too. Nothing to repair about anything. I'm trying to start this locomotive. One side of the batteries, well, it takes two batteries to start locomotive,
Hmm.
and they're 32 volts. They're about $4,000 each one. So I couldn't start this locomotive, and I just went and grabbed a brand new battery that it just came in, and I guess I was trying to cut some brakes right there, bridges and stuff. I used this locomotive to start the engine. I got it all up and running. When I lowered down my forklift and I back up, the battery went like that. It just went sideways. I flip it. Yeah, that was like, holy shit. So since it's a brand new battery, it's brand new acid and all that stuff, you should have seen
Yeah.
all the bubbles just coming out in the ground.
No shit.
And that's what I said too. I called my boss and I said, I'm going home. He's like, what happened? I said, I just dropped this battery. It's a brand new battery. He's like, well, holy shit, now what are we gonna do? I'm like, I'll figure something out and see if I can get it up or fix it myself. Well, I did. I went to AutoZone and I just got me like bridges of not metal, copper.
Yep.
So I just drill holes on top of it, on top of the cells about this little, maybe
Yep.
about 1 by 1. I just put the bridges in between. It works.
Crazy.
I say $4,000 right there.
Now, it sounds like it's a huge battery to get these things started.
Yes, they are.
And it
They are
doesn't
massive.
travel with the locomotive once you get the locomotive started.
No, I have to leave them in.
Okay.
So because it's only because there's two. So on the front of the locomotive, on the
Hmm.
side, I don't know if you ever seen the little step in before you get into the cab.
Yep.
So there's two cabinets when I slide my batteries in.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
only weigh 1,800 pounds.
Okay. Only 1,800 pounds. You almost got me there. I was like, oh, yeah, no. Oh shit. How,
Yeah,
how
there's
long? How long do they last? I mean, a normal automotive battery. I mean, obviously they can go under the right conditions for a decent amount of time, but it's usually like 3 years or 30, or it's 3 years or 36 months that a battery's good for. I've seen them go 5, 6, 7 years, but is it the same with yours that they're about 3 years or they're less
no,
than
they
that?
last long. They're
Oh, they
about
do.
the last one I replaced. I think it lasted by 11 years.
Wow.
I mean, they're expensive, but they're good. And it all depends how good of a treatment you give them, because you can just add regular water to it and that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you add acid maybe once in a while, it will last long.
Oh, so yeah, I'm looking at it now. They're serviceable batteries. They're like the old car batteries. You add distilled water and yeah, put some acid in it, and that's interesting. And once they get low, each individual cell has a cap, and that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Old school,
So
old school. I love it. Technology wise, have I mean, obviously, there's more electronics on them and stuff like that, but like, are they still pretty old school compared to like today's standards when it comes to trucks and excavation equipment and stuff like that, where they got joysticks, more computers, more electronics? Um, are trains still pretty dinosaurish?
well, mine they were built in the 1970s, and
Okay.
to be honest, um, for 1970s technology, it's pretty amazed me because inside that cab there's a long cabinet where there's some electronic cars.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them are for my voltage regulator, some are for
Yep.
my governor, some are for my wheel slip, some are for my throttle, and they're pricey. They're about
Yeah.
$3,000 per car electronic. Um, I used to have some couple of units that they have electronic horn and electrical bell. For that age, I mean, I'm sure that somebody put it along the way, but to have those little improvements, it just,
Crazy.
yeah, they are.
1970.
I think the
Yeah.
old ones, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was gonna say it was the boat I worked on. I think was built in the 80s, and I mean I remember the technology in the engine room. It's like big cabinets. Everything was big, and um, there just wasn't a ton of technology. It was a lot of actually no LED lights. Everything was bulbs. You know, the switches, the gauges, everything was just very simple, very easy to work on. Um, there was no, beautiful, LED displays or stuff like that. This was, yeah, I guess it's simple.
I've been slowly replacing some of my lights on my units for LED.
Yeah.
Because back in the days, I mean, when you're sitting down on the cab, looking at the cab stand, and you have just the regular light bulbs, you can
Hmm.
barely see the needles at nighttime. So,
Nice.
that's what I
Nice.
told my boss. I said we need to just upgrade it so we can see better, and that's what we've been doing. And it takes so each light bulb that I have right there, they're 74 volts.
Hmm.
So my headlights, the one that goes on the nose, they're 32 volts. And the ditch light, the one that
Yep.
goes in the bottom, there's 74 volts.
Okay.
But other than that, I
Now
mean, it's just,
I wanted to get a little into current events because, as you've seen and it's probably ripped through your industry a little bit with safety standards and whatnot. Um, I guess it comes to the news that, especially I think it was in Pennsylvania, there was a derailment, and then there's been a couple of derailments that hit the news. But one thing that was pretty interesting that I didn't know was, you know, there's what the media tells you and what you see on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Um, that this is happening more frequently, and what I found out doing a little bit more digging is that derailments happen pretty regularly. It's just whether or not they're put out in the news or whatnot, and that just happened to hit a news cycle. But um, is that true? You guys see a lot of derailments, or at least at a frequent pace?
it's very rare to see a derailment.
Okay.
I had And this whole time that I've been working with this company, I had maybe two of them.
Okay.
Nothing really
Nothing
bad.
major.
I mean, it's just they derail because sometimes when it's cold, the rail just shrink, and when it's hot, I mean, the rail just expands, and it's just part of the nature.
Yeah.
I had one before that the rail just decided to stretch a lot, and the engine they were running just fine. And all of a sudden, you see the engine just rocking back and forth, dust coming out, and it was on the ground.
Jump the
But I
track.
mean, one
So
engine stayed like this.
yeah, how do you fix that? Like tons of equipment? Do you guys do it yourself? Do you guys have a crane company come out and pick them back up, or yeah, how does a whole derailment um, scenario work?
It there's a big crane that is it's not on standby, but we usually use them.
Hmm.
Uh, it's massive. To be honest, it's that crane itself. It comes in one truck. That trucks come in different trucks. So, and when they bring it over, they just put everything. They attach everything together, and then it takes more time for them to put the crane together than pick up whatever they need to pick up.
Wow. And your company owns one?
No, no, no. That's a different company that we
Okay.
use.
Cool. Cool. Well, shit. I mean, I think that we've got a basic introduction to um, the train and locomotive industry. It sounds like, from the research that I've done, Texas seems to be one of the main areas for cargo shipments and train yards and rail yards, and if you're looking for a job in the railroad industry, you might want to look in Texas. Um,
Yeah,
there are other hubs around the United States, but that seems to be, I think the last time I did a little bit of research on it, there was, I think that's the most employment of railroad mechanics, operators, stuff like that was in Texas. So,
I'm in Texas.
um, yeah. But outside of that, what do you do for fun?
Well, since I have like 71,000 kids, no, I'm just playing. uh, uh, we've been stuck on baseball here lately.
Yeah,
I have three kids that they love to play at baseball, and that's what we've been doing.
nice.
Weekends, uh, weekdays, practices, and like maybe here in the next couple of hours, one of my kids is gonna go to practice because he went to the elite. So, but other than that, I mean, the family is this the last team, not the last team, but that's the thing we that I do more than anything nowadays. And
Yeah,
I'll go to the gym and here and there, and but other than that, it's just what the kiddos want.
simple life, simple life.
Yeah,
It's
yes,
easy but fulfilling. I love it. Yeah, my daughter and son. My daughter plays softball. My son plays baseball, and she just made the all-star team. So like, there's gonna be travel through the summer and a lot more games. So yeah, you're right. It does. It consumes your time, and it makes you feel sometimes like you have 7,100 kids.
yeah, yeah. Uh, when this season was over, my oldest son was having practice on Monday.
Yeah,
My second one was having practice on no, I take that back. On Tuesday they were going to church. On
yeah.
Wednesday my son has practice. On Thursday my daughter had a practice, and Friday it was like this on and off, and then Saturday morning 3 games, 4 games in a day. So
Yeah, it's
can't
nuts.
complain. I mean,
It's nuts. It's a lot more than when I was growing up. They're playing more games and traveling more and having more practices, and it's wild. But
yeah.
Nelson, I want to thank you for being on this podcast. This has been eye opening for me. I hope the gearheads out there that hear this are a little bit more knowledgeable on the railroad industry. I absolutely enjoyed this because I learned more about the trade than I knew going into this podcast. So that was wonderful. But if anybody wants to learn more, where can they find you? What's a good resource to point them to? I'll leave the floor
Um,
open to you.
it can be either Instagram or TikTok,
Hmm.
which it goes as the crazy Salvadorian on either Instagram or TikTok. And it's like I always said, if somebody's looking for a job and to start the railroad, if I don't have the option to say, hey, you can work for me, I have some other followers that they have. They work as a contractor, and if they're looking for somebody to hire, I just guide them that direction.
Sweet.
It's only because when you get into a railroad, it's kind of like a drug.
Yeah.
It gets into your veins, and I get up from there. I went to the oil field, and I'm like, I have to go back. I have to go back, and I have to go back, and here I am.
Hell yeah. So it's an addiction. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. This was a blessing. I appreciate learning more about what you do.
I appreciate it. I thank you very much for having me, and thank you for everything you guys has done for me.